Have you been on podcast interviews and frustrated because you think it's a great podcast? You think you give a great interview, but then it never turns into the money. Well, maybe it's not you. Maybe it's the offers you're making. Maybe it's the calls to action. Maybe that's the secret tip that will take you to getting more money. And speaking of money, let's hear from a great podcaster here.
Hey, I'm Joe Saul-Sehy, host of the Money with Friends podcast. And you know what you get when you cross a great host with a fantastic idea? That's right, Podcast Guest Profits, hosted by Tom Schwab, sponsored by Interview Valet.
Thanks, Joe. And if you're thinking about like that whole money thing, right? Of podcast interviews, do you get paid on that? Should you get paid on that? The way I always love to look at it as when people pay you, it's the way that Rabbi Daniel Lapin says, it's certificates of appreciation. They're giving you something for the value you're giving them. And often on a podcast interview, I cringe when people just do an interview and then never get the next step. There's some great communicators out there, but I've yet to find one in 30 minutes that can give you everything you need. Most people after a great interview are thinking, what's the next step? What more can I get? Well, how can you help me? And this is really the call to action, the offers. Think about it. What's the next thing I could do to help these people? Now, every digital marketer will tell you one call to action. And I don't disagree with them. On most digital marketing, one call to action is the appropriate. But with all of our testing, we have found that 3 calls to action is always the best. We've got the small yes, the medium yes, and the heck yes. And you think about it, it's really because you're trying to meet people where they are in a podcast interview. So some people might be ready to buy. They're going to come with credit card in hand. Other people just want to look around. So make sure you give them a chance to do just that. So here's some examples of the small yes. Small yes could be come back to the website to see a picture of something that I talked about. Vincent Pugliese, author of Freelance to Freedom, did that awesome. He was a professional photographer, worked with all the major league sports, and whenever he'd tell a story, he would tell people, go back to the website here and see it. It gave them a reason to go there so that he could give them a Facebook retargeting pixel, engage with them in some way. If you've got a podcast, just saying, come back to the website and click to subscribe for the podcast. Doesn't take them any money. Other ones could be a checklist. It's not a lot of time. It could be an assessment. James Soto from Industrial Marketing taught me this. And we've got a podcast interview marketing and assessment that works great. 12 questions that somebody can ask you. It could be just a little download. And I'll put a download in the comments below this. And it's basically a summary of the best calls to action to use on a podcast interview. And one of the things you'll notice is that this form is not always behind, or this offer is not always behind a form. For some people, you might want to capture their information. Other ones, you might want to wait till they show more interest. So that's the small yes. Well, what's the medium yes? Well, the medium yes is something that's going to take a little bit more of their time or their money. And often people's most valuable resource is their time. So it might be a face-to-camera video to build that relationship. If I've seen you on a podcast, a great way to build that relationship now is a face-to-camera video. One of the things that our testing has shown is that the word online training or video training converts much more than a webinar or, God forbid, a master class. So talk about that. Maybe there's a case study that you talked about. Maybe there's a small product, sort of that try before you could buy. Something that's going to engage them a little bit more. Now, there's a great book called ClickSand, How Digital Marketing is Ruining Your Business. And in this, Bill Troy says, big fish don't click and whales don't swim through funnels, right? So if you're talking to somebody on a podcast interview, they hear you, they're having this discussion in their mind with you, they're ready to go. Well, you don't want to slow them down in a funnel. If they come with credit card ready to engage with the wizard, give them a chance to do it. That's the big yes. If somebody's heard you, they've been introduced to you, they've looked around your website, they want to go, give them the chance to do that. Now, this could be buying the product. This could be scheduling a kickoff call or a discovery call. It could fill out an application. Maybe it's booking you to speak, to get your speaker's kit. Anything like that. You see, you want to meet people where they are. After they've listened to you for 30 or 45 minutes, they've already self-selected. That's why podcast interviews, our experience has shown that they convert 25 times better than blogs. This is not cold traffic. This is traffic that has come to your site after listening to you. Now, when does this not work? Do I have to do this always? Well, no, you're a grown person. There's nothing that you have to do. I'm just saying for most people, this converts best. Now, there are exceptions, right? We had one client that we worked with that their whole goal was having people sign up for a free app. Well, don't slow them down. Send them directly to that. We've had other clients that say, I want to have them sign up for my newsletter. Well, that's not a good call to action. Nobody wants a generic newsletter. They want something very specific. So our best clients have started with one document. Maybe it's the 10 tips every accountant should ask about social media. Well, then when they go on a lawyer podcast, they might change that to the 10 tips every lawyer should ask themselves, the 10 tips every business owner. Change it ever so slightly. Content is king, but context is God. I'd encourage you, try this on your next podcast interview. Work it into the conversation. When I'm on an interview, I'll talk about podcast interview marketing, and I'll say, we've got an assessment. You can go back to this welcome page that we talked about yesterday, and you can find it there. Later on, they might mention my book, and I'll say, I sell a lot of those books on Amazon, but I give more away. Just go here. You can get the book. That's my middle yes. That the small yes, the medium yes, and then the heck yes is, hey, if you've listened to this, if this makes sense, if you think you could use this strategy to grow your business and your brand, well, let's jump on a call. Go back to the welcome page, and that heck yes with the scheduling to get on a call is right there. So give it a try the next time you're on a podcast interview. As I said, down below in here, I'll put the link to a PDF that talks all about this. There's no email behind it. Go ahead, share it, download it, give me your feedback on it. And also let me know what you're interested in for upcoming questions for the Podcast Guest Profits daily tip. Tomorrow, we're going to be talking about how to pick a podcast. There's over 1 million podcasts out there. You don't have time to go on them all. Most of them are a waste of your time, but we're going to present an algorithm that you can use, one that we use, one that we've refined over the last 6 years, over 500 clients, over 20,000 interviews to make sure that every podcast is a great one.
Has obscurity become your biggest problem? Stages have disappeared. Conferences are canceled. In-person meetings seem like a distant memory. Your prospective customers still need you. They still need to hear from you. Stop trying to break through the noise. It's not working. Get in on the conversation. Get featured as the expert guest on targeted podcast interviews. Podcasts are hot. Listenership is up 20% in 2020. Podcasts are the new digital stage. Leverage other people's established platform as a featured guest. Since 2015, Interview Valet has helped over 500 leading brands get featured on over 20,000 podcast episodes. You're the guest. We take care of the rest. Stop being the best kept secret. Find out how we can help you leverage targeted podcast interviews to get heard, to grow your brand, to grow your sales, to be recognized as the market leader.